The Adventures of Duckling and Friends, Guardians of the Environment. In a quiet, lush meadow near the edge of a sparkling river, there lived a young duckling named Duckling. His feathers were a soft shade of golden yellow, and his bright, curious eyes sparkled with innocence. Though small, Duckling had a big heart and an even bigger sense of responsibility for the world around him. Duckling was not just any duckling. He was known in the meadow for his kind nature, his gentle spirit, and his deep love for the environment. Every morning, as the sun's first rays touched the dew-covered grass, Duckling would waddle around the meadow, greeting his friends with a joyful quack. Among his friends were the animals who lived in the meadow and the nearby forest: a wise old owl named Oliver, a playful rabbit called Thumper, a friendly squirrel named Nutty, and a cheerful butterfly named Lily. Together, they formed a close-knit group that cared for the environment and worked to protect their home from any harm. The animals often gathered by the riverbank, where the water was clear and sparkling. Duckling would share stories of how important it was to keep their environment clean. "If we keep our meadow and river clean, we'll always have fresh air to breathe and water to drink," Duckling would say with a twinkle in his eye. One crisp morning, Duckling noticed something troubling. The once clear river was now filled with litter, and the beautiful meadow was starting to look untidy. Plastic bottles, food wrappers, and discarded cans were scattered everywhere. The trees that once stood tall and proud were now surrounded by trash, and the flowers that once bloomed brightly were wilting from the pollution. Duckling felt a deep sadness in his heart. "This isn't right," he said to himself. "Our home is being harmed. We have to do something." He called a meeting of all his friends. "Look at what has happened to our river and meadow," Duckling said, his voice full of concern. "We need to protect our home and make it beautiful again. If we don't, we might lose everything we love." Oliver the owl perched on a nearby branch, adjusting his glasses. "You're right, Duckling. We need to act fast. Pollution is not just harming our home, but it's also affecting the creatures that live here." Nutty the squirrel nodded and jumped up and down. "I agree. We have to gather all our friends and work together to clean up the mess. Let's start today," Thumper the rabbit said, his ears standing up with excitement. "We can make a difference if we all pitch in." And so, Duckling and his friends set out to clean the meadow and river. Duckling led the way, waddling through the meadow with a determination that only a true protector of the environment could have. Thumper hopped around, gathering small pieces of trash, while Nutty scurried up and down the trees, picking up wrappers and cans. Lily fluttered around, gathering plastic straws and bottles, using her delicate wings to carry them away from the flowers. Oliver, the wise owl, flew above them, keeping watch and making sure no harm would come to their efforts. "We must remember," Oliver said, "that our work isn't just about picking up trash. It's about teaching others to care for this place as we do." As the animals worked together, they began to see the fruits of their labor. The river became clearer, the meadows started to look greener, and the air felt fresher. But Duckling knew that cleaning up wasn't enough. "We have to teach others to protect the environment too," he said. The next day, Duckling and his friends visited the nearby village where many animals lived. They gathered all the animals in the village square and held a meeting. "Friends," Duckling began, his voice steady and strong, "our home is in danger. Pollution is hurting the river, the trees, and the flowers. We need to work together to protect the environment, not just for ourselves, but for future generations. We must stop littering and begin recycling. If everyone does their part, our home will stay beautiful forever." The animals in the village listened carefully, and soon, they all promised to take better care of their surroundings. The rabbits would pick up trash as they hopped through the fields, the birds would stop dropping litter in the trees, and the bears would start recycling their food containers. Duckling felt a wave of pride wash over him. From that day forward, Duckling and his friends worked together to keep their home clean. They educated others about the importance of taking care of the environment, and soon, the entire meadow, river, and village were free from pollution. Duckling realized that it wasn't just the cleaning up that made a difference, it was the change in everyone's hearts. When animals care for their environment, they create a world that is clean, healthy, and full of life. As Duckling watched the sun set over the peaceful meadow, he smiled. He had made a difference, and so had his friends. Together, they had shown that even the smallest creatures could have a big impact on the world. And with that, Duckling whispered to himself, "A clean home is a happy home, and when we all do our part, we create a world worth living in." Life lesson: true happiness comes not just from caring for yourself, but from taking responsibility for the world around you and working together to protect it.